Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Jake Gordon and Alex Lord. I want to talk a little bit today about the Atlanta Braves starting rotation, starting pitching going into the NLDS. Obviously, more now. We don't know if Kyle Wright he's been pitching out of the bullpen. Bryce Elder, guy's been terrible. You really only have two clear-cut starters. But my argument is those two clear-cut starters being healthy, assuming that Max Fried is healthy coming off that blister injury, is significantly better than what the Braves had last year. Really, the only guy they had in good form last year was Kyle Wright. He pitched to Jim. But you had a sick Max Fried. You had Spencer Strider coming off oblique injury way too early. And you had Charlie Morton, who had given up, I think, 10 or 12 home runs in his last 7 starts. He was not the same Charlie Morton that he was this season. And the Braves went into that. I think just having Max Fried, Spencer Strider, and whoever else you pitch in game 3 is a far better situation than you had last year, because pitching with guys injured, like that's just like those guys were basically useless. I hate to say that, but like they were.
Yeah, and it's crazy this year too. Like a lot of people are out, like a lot of pitchers. The Dodgers are pretty much just down to Lance Lynn. Brandon Woodruff, they just announced yesterday, had like shoulder. He's going to be out.
The Rays entire like pitch, the Rays like entire.
I think
the Rays have like 7 guys on the IL.
I think Zach Gallen might be hurt. Somebody for the Diamondbacks is hurt. The Marlins don't have Sandy. I think Sandy's still out at least. Like it's just there's so many guys that are out right now, and the Braves are actually.
Yuri Perez is out. Sandy's out.
Yeah.
I think it might be Merrill Kelly. I don't think it's Gallen, but they have a guy going today. Yeah. They have a guy going today that has a 6 ERA. They have
it's PFAADT is how you spell his last name.
He has a 6 ERA and he's pitching in a playoff game. Game 1 of your playoff games. I mean,
yeah, just like Julio Urias out for the Dodgers, Walker Buehler out for the Dodgers, Dustin May out for the Dodgers. Like there's so many guys, so many teams that are missing guys. I think the only team that really isn't, unfortunately, might be the Phillies. But
but I mean, the Phillies, the back end of their rotation, I don't know how Suarez is right now. Obviously, they have Nola and Wheeler. I don't know how Suarez is, but Taijuan Walker's been really bad, and Michael Lorenzen's obviously been terrible. So it's not like they have. I actually like their lefty. I forget what his name is, but he's pitched a couple times against them. For some reason, they haven't trusted him. The rookie lefty that has pitched against us, he's racked up like 10 strikeouts. I forget what his name is, but I actually like that guy. If I was the Phillies, I'd be starting him in a game 3. I don't know if they trust him enough, but that guy's a stud. He's going to be a stud.
Yeah. But anyways, the point is, I think the Braves are actually in a pretty good spot compared to the rest of the league, which I was really worried about Milwaukee coming into this. I think if a team comes out of the National League that's not the Braves, I actually do think it's going to be the Brewers. But without Woodruff, too, that just got a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I think, obviously, if you got 2 healthy horses that can go toe-to-toe with anybody, especially in a 5-game series, you're obviously going to like your chances. But in a 7-game series, let me just play the contrarian here for a second. Obviously, to Chase's point, yes, you're right. 5-game series, Spencer Strider and Max Fried could pitch the games that you need. That's it. You don't need another starter. But let's just say in a 7-game series, do you take a sick Max Fried who can gut through a lot of performances, a hobbled Spencer Strider, and then a healthy Kyle Wright instead of not a healthy Kyle Wright? You have nobody but those 2 guys, and now you got to throw extra bullpen games. Do you understand what I'm asking, or was that not clear?
Am I taking – no, I think this year –
in a 7-game series, though. In a 7-game series. Not the NLDS. Let's say we make it past the NLDS, and Charlie Morton is still not out, and we're in the same situation we are today. Max Fried and Spencer Strider are only healthy pitchers. Kyle Wright still not being used as a starter. Bryce Elder, I guess, would be that 3rd starter, whatever. Maybe he's not. Instead of last year, you've got, half a Max Fried, half of a Spencer Strider, but you do have a healthy Charlie Morton, and you do have a healthy Kyle Wright. So you have, kind of.
Here's my thing.
You see what I'm asking?
I see what you're trying to say. You're comparing. You're moving on in the next round, comparing these.
Right.
Here's my thing with the half pitchers that are starting. Right. I would almost rather. I actually think I would rather have AJ Smith-Shawver pitch fully healthy than the way Max Fried and Spencer Strider had to pitch last year in games 1 and 2. Yeah, so that's my thing. Like Spencer Strider was throwing 94 by the 3rd inning. Like he just wasn't healthy, and he just got teed off on, and basically you're out of the game. Max Fried. I mean, like, listen, I understand why you gut it out. No one's going to tell you no, especially with the sickness. But, you'd probably rather had someone else pitch that game, whether it be a bullpen game or whatever. So that's my biggest thing. Those half pitchers are almost like automatic L's. And you hate to say that about those 2 guys. But going against a lineup like the Phillies, who the Braves very well might play, pitching injured and sick pitchers. It's not exactly.
Well, we could very well have that happen. Max Fried's not going to be injured per se, but hasn't pitched in several weeks, and I know that he missed more than 3 months and came back and threw a gym in the regular season. But this is playoff baseball. It's a little different. There are concerns with the health. And then on top of that, let's just move on to the NLCS and let's just hope that Charlie Morton is back. He'll be in a similar situation. So I think you're right that you'd rather be in this situation than last. Absolutely. You're too healthy. You're two horses healthy as could be. But I don't think it's an overwhelming thing just because it's so complicated in a 7-game series versus a 5-game series.
I think you're going to have Max Fried pitch a simulated game, though, over the next couple of days. I'm not too worried. I really am not. I really think Max Fried is strictly precautionary. And I could just be being hopeful, but I really think that's what it is. I think he'll pitch a simulated game this week. And hopefully everything checks out and he's good for game 1. But not only is Charlie Morton probably going to be able to come back for the NLCS, or hopefully, Kyle Wright, you're getting 2 more weeks of him getting his stuff back. So I think Kyle Wright also becomes a much better option potentially in the NLCS and the World Series than he is maybe right now, or what we saw at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think a lot of things will have to go right. That's just a lot of wishful thinking. I think more off prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
I don't think it's that wishful though. I think Max Fried's healthy. I think that's fact. I think Charlie Morton has a good chance of returning at some point this postseason, and I strongly believe in Kyle Wright. And guess what? If they're not, give me some AJ Smith-Shawver. Give me that 20-year-old out there. I am all in on AJ Smith-Shawver, dude. I looked up his stats: 6 outings, 5 quality outings, and 6 starts. Only bad start was Reds, Red Hot Reds.
His numbers are worse in Gwinnett than they are in Atlanta. They're significantly worse.
You know what you call that?
Which is wild.
Huge cojones.
Maybe he's ready for the big moment.
No, I don't know.
What a gutsy call. What do you think? Alex Anthopoulos turns out the playoff roster, and you see a little AJ Smith-Shawver down there. Talk about cojones. That takes cojones. I don't think it's not possible. I just think it's unlikely.
You look at some of the options. They're not exactly sexy. I think there's a good chance one of these young pitchers, whether it's Winans, Vines, AJ Smith-Shawver, is included over maybe a guy like McHugh or something like that. But coming up after the break, John Collins has media day with his new team in Utah, and he throws some shade apparently on the Atlanta Hawks.